As big as mountains. This conversation started, and then I had to gather all my thoughts of how much I wanted to say. But it's going to be multiple parts, most likely, and let's just start at the beginning. So in 2020, December specifically, I had a dream that I had a suitcase and I had taken a bus to Los Angeles. And there I met a man, and at first we were kind of lost. Like, the place we were trying to go to wasn't open, and this guy was like, "Hey, I can offer my help." And in true fashion, I'm like, "No, we're okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out." And so he was like, "Nah, just wait over there, and I will come get you guys." And we're like, "It's cool," because we didn't really know him, right? And so then me and whoever I was with, we went across the street because there's a community center, and I there's an event happening that night. There's just a lot of people in the room, and while in there, I'm like, I made sure everyone was good. I made sure everyone was seated, and then I went to go find my seat. And like, a lot of the things in this dream is very true to my nature and my character. So while I was sitting down waiting for whatever to start, I see the guy, and he comes in, and he was like, "Oh, I was looking all over for you guys." Me and him started talking, and then we had like this moment where we started dancing. It just got really intimate. I remember when I woke up, I said, "God, please don't let me be intimate with anybody like that other than my husband." And at the time, I prayed about the dream. I really wasn't sure what it meant, other than like, maybe my husband's in, like, maybe I'll meet him in Los Angeles, and then I kind of just left it. Now in January 2022, so about 2 years later, because I had given that dream a specific name, and in January 2022, I was reading the Bible, and that one of the names I popped up, and I was like, "Oh!" And just by me reading that name, I was like, "Oh." I started thinking about it again, about the dream and about Los Angeles, and I'm thinking, what if God is calling me to Los Angeles? Our business at the time, my sister and our business at the time was doing okay, but needed to break out like more, right? I needed to hit higher heights, needed to bring in more volume so we can get paid, and we've been working this thing. And I started thinking about, like, what if Toronto wasn't it? Like, what if that just wasn't the area for us? There's a sad thing about a lot of Canadians who kind of just leave Canada to go find success, to go find just a better audience, right? Like, there's even some like companies here who will put their stuff in USD because their audience is American, and they find success in that. And so it was like this thought of, like, what if we've been grinding our gears trying to make Toronto happen, but there's like a million different skincare companies in Toronto. Toronto not that big. Like, it's big, but like, compared to the state of Texas or California, or, you know what I'm saying, like, they have a higher population. I think the whole of Canada can fit in California. The population's just greater, right? Like, Canada has people, we just also have a lot of land. And so this thought started twisting and turning, and I'm like, man, I wonder if God's moving me. A few weeks later, I started the sermons that I was listening to at the time, started talking about, and some of you are going to be moving geographical locations. And I said, oh. And it started hitting me. So I'm like, okay, let me look into it, right? Like, I don't like to get an idea and just leave it. I'm like, let me follow up. So I started looking into, what would that look like? Where would I go? What would it be? Is this God really talking to me? I started watching videos on YouTube of people who have moved by faith, because essentially that's what it is, right? And this one particular video I watched, it was so good. she had talked about her move and just the signs that God was showing her at the time on not just to move, but where to move to. And it was kind of cool because in the video, she was saying how she's like, I might be a destiny helper, somebody who helps you along the way, for some of y'all. And I don't know why I put on this shirt, but this might be a message for y'all. And at the time, I wasn't watching the video. I just had it in the background playing. And then I went back and I'm like, oh, let me see what shirt she has on. And her shirt said Los Angeles. I said, oh, that's wild. I said, okay, God, like, maybe you are talking to me. And these are the thoughts that I'm getting. I'm like, okay, what else does this look like? When would I leave? And I started talking more about it. I started getting really excited about it. And in June of 2022, 22? No, 23. Oh my gosh. All this happened in 2022. We're in 23 now. Wow. Sorry. Yeah. So in June 2022, my sister and I had done a beauty launch, and we had rebranded our company. We're launching it again. Shifting the perspective of it, shifting the name of it, finding more, a better, increasing our prices, like that kind of branding. And so we relaunched in Scarborough Town Center and in the store called Black Owned TO, shout outs. And one of the things that we do as a company is we do hand massages. It's always been our thing. And we're known for it, like in different various places in Toronto, like that's what we do. And we've just done it so well that like even when I've seen other people try to do it, it's not the same because y'all don't have the anointing that I have. Anyways, as we're doing the hand massage, my sister goes to go get us something to eat because we hadn't eaten yet. But she found us some drinks. And there, she was like talking to this one lady and invited her back to where we were. And so this lady, I'm doing her hand massage and we're just in general conversation. And we're talking and she's like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from here. I'm like, where are you from? She's like, she's from there. I said, oh, okay. She just said she's from the United States. Cool. Then it's like, okay, where in the United States? Oh, she's from California. I said, interesting. And then from California, and I'm just like, oh, here we go now. So I'm like, okay, where in California are you from? And she says Los Angeles. And I literally like throw her hands. I throw them. I'm like, ain't no way that you're from Los Angeles. Like, of all the places in Scarborough, like, it just didn't make sense to me how this lady was from so far, from Los Angeles of all places, but that she was here in front of me and I was doing her hand massage. Sorry, I'm like slowing down because I'm like thinking of it as it's happening. And she was just like, no, you don't want to go there. Like, I left from there. And I'm like, if anything, that's why God would send me there, like, to speak to people, to all this stuff. And so I had, along the journey, I've had various different interactions with people, with the name, and it was almost like every time I forgot about it, it was like chasing me down, right? I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep focusing. I'm just going to continue planning or just doing what I got to do because I was so focused on we just had a launch of the company and I'm like, let me put my energy here. And in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I know I'm moving to Los Angeles. I just don't know when, right? And I started getting it in my spirit that I'm moving. And the funny thing is, at the top of 2022, so about December 2021, I said, I'm like, I feel like I'm moving in this next year. I'm like, this is going to be my last year in this house. Like, I feel like something's shifting. And then January came, and then the rest I already explained. So when I say Los Angeles was running me down, I started seeing people in shirts with Los Angeles, which I know when we focus on something, we start seeing it. But I went to dinner with a friend one day, and we're eating, and a lady came up that she had mostly spoken to like through email, but she was here in person, and they're talking, and she was like, "Oh, Yeah, I have to go back to my table because my friend from Los Angeles is coming. And I said to him, like, you see, like, this thing is like following me. Like, I'm not making this up when I say Los Angeles. I know it is like out of nowhere. And of all places, why Los Angeles? And I'm like, I'm a creative, so it makes sense because creative people and artists a lot are in Hollywood. But I'm like, there has to be something to this. And so I just started joining my faith with whatever it is that God wanted for Los Angeles and whatever this move was going to look like. Again, I had no clue when it was going to go, but I just kept praying. I'm like, God, if this is what you want, if you're moving me, I don't know what's going to happen to the company. Like, am I going to move it over there? I started looking at how to get the skincare company to the States, what that looks like. What are the rules? What are the regulations? Like, am I going to have to leave the company behind? Like, I started looking into everything because I needed to know what my options were. Now, I didn't have a place to stay, not yet. I didn't even have the funds to say, okay, let me stay here. The job I was working at the time I was making like $500 a month. And so realistically, it wasn't even like enough for me to even save to say, okay, I'm going to be able to afford this apartment or this lifestyle in Los Angeles. But what I told myself was, God is good. And the faith that I have in God means no matter what is happening, He will guide me. No matter what is happening, He will be there. And He will provide for me. And I had increased my faith. It had been a long time. Like, I hadn't had faith like this since my son passed. And I was believing for His resurrection. Like, my faith had been a little shaky. And I knew God was fixing it. But I didn't know how to really get back that same belief, because I'm like, God, I had put my trust in that my son was coming back. I believed. I had all the faith in the world, and He didn't. So I'm like, maybe my faith was wrong. Maybe my faith was off. And I began having these conversations with God about what faith looks like and how to have faith when faith has been broken or when my heart had been broken. And not just broken, but I was so heavily mocked at that time for having that type of belief that I'm like, God, if I had to do it again, I would still do it. But I'm like, God, I don't want to go through another period where people are mocking me or I'm looking weird. So I'm like, I'm tired of always being like the weird one out. I'm tired of always being the one who like, oh, there she goes again with her crazy ideas. And they're crazy to some people, but to me, it's all God. Like, to me, the desires and the interest that I have is God. Like, when people ask me why Los Angeles, I never would have put myself there. Yes, I'm a creative. Yes, I love all these artsy things. But my mind was always, I'm going to make it work in Toronto somewhere. Like, I never thought to think outside the box. And that's an issue. That I just lived my life so regular that I didn't think greater. Right? We're like, oh my gosh, God is so big. God is so great. And I realized then that I was making Him greater and bigger inside a box and not thinking about travel or like, I love to travel, but I never thought of myself living outside of Canada. Right. And so all these things had to be dispelled. All these things had to be, broken through. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm working the company. I had actually, during this course of the springtime, had worked on my course. I knew that I had a course that needed to be offered. I had offered it in jail. When I developed it. But now I wanted to offer it to people on the outside because I was no longer in jail offering the course. And so Holy Spirit spent some time going through picking a name for it, picking a name for the company. Like, all these things happened while I was building the skincare company. I was also building out a brand for myself and like a personal brand. And I was like, okay, like, what do people love about me? Lips and language. Like, I'm always doing lipstick. I'm a poet. I'm an author. So language makes sense. And like, communication is super important to me. So I'm like, I put this idea together. And then I started putting the course together, Restore and Embrace Myself, because I'm like, people need restoration. People need healing. People need to come back from childhood trauma or just any type of trauma that they've been through. People need to come back from loss and all these different things. So I started putting the course together, and I had it there, right? I had it in the background. I'm working on the skincare, but I'm also now focused on this move that God has for me. And it felt very overwhelming. It felt like I didn't know what to do, where to go, or where to turn. But I'm like, God, I'm just going to keep my eyes on you. And so I wasn't really telling people about this Los Angeles thing because I didn't have it figured out yet. And my sister actually started telling people, yeah, she's moving to Los Angeles. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I should like tell people. I don't know when it is, but like I guess it is exciting and for me to talk about it. And so then I started like talking about it a little bit more, and I guess the more I talked about it, the realer it became. Now, when August of 2022 hit, I was praying or just talking to God, and he was like, you're not ready to move. And I was like, what? And it was like, when people move, what do they do? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. When people move, they get boxes. They start packing up things. They start purging things. They start releasing the things that don't serve them. And it was like, I believed God in theory. Yeah, God's going to move me. But it's like I didn't believe him practically for me to actually start packing up my room, organizing my things, figuring out what will go where, how many boxes am I taking with me, right? Like, what is the shipping cost associated to this? What does this look like? Am I bringing all these boxes with me one time? Am I going to the space first, figure it out, and then having them shipped to me? And a lot of the things that I was packing up were my son's stuff. I had a little bit of time where I was like crying because I'm like, I don't want to leave my son behind. Now, yeah, my son is buried in a cemetery, or his body is at least. And his tree that I love is at his school. But I was like, I don't want to leave any of that. Like, how do I just leave him here? And I had to have a real conversation and process those emotions that, like, I'm not leaving him behind. I'm moving so that I can have a better opportunity, live differently, which is something that he would want. And wherever I go, I can always create memories there for him. But this is where I birthed him, and this is where I lost him. And so I really had to go through it and sit in it and be sad about it, and then like ask God for solutions. And one of the solutions was that where I can make new memories where I go and still honor him. And so once I had peace about leaving him behind, I said, okay. And then I started packing. I started clearing out my room. Because I currently sleep in what was my son's room. And so I started like packing up all my clothes. I gave away a lot of clothes. I said, I no longer need this. This is no longer, I'm not bringing this with me. Like, I literally looked at the clothes and I'm like, can you fit? Can I bring you? If I couldn't bring you, I wasn't taking it. And I'm like, what kind of look do I want out there? I don't want the same look that I had here. Like, I wanted something different. Now, there's a couple pieces that I love that I will bring, but I really started purging and believing for new and believing for something completely different than what I had. New style, new everything. And I took down the things off my wall. Like, I really packed as if I was leaving. And it was such a therapeutic process for me. One, to pack up my stuff, but two, to dream again, to dream bigger. When you move, you only bring the things that are priority. And so it has you really focused on picking the best. I had so many different cars for my son, and I was like, well, I love him, but I can share some of this with the people around me. I can share some of his items with his godfather or with other people who loved him as much as I did. Because I don't need to bring everything. Like, I have enough that I can still honor my son with, but I don't need to bring everything. And so I started like reaching out to, like I said, his godparents, and even my ex, and was asking like, is there anything of his stuff that you want? Like, I don't need everything. And his godfather said yes. I put a box together of like his hats or his cars or like his sweaters or something that I was keeping. And I said, here, take it. And it was such a beautiful process for me because I was sharing my child with other people. But again, I was making space for just the memories that I wanted to take. I wasn't taking it all. I was taking a part of it. And so as I started to get really comfortable with the idea, I said, okay, God, I feel like it's this year, but I don't know when. I don't know where. And the thing is, at the time, we were under a ban where people who are not vaccinated could not leave, like, could not go to the States, and people from the States could not come here. Like, like the C word precautions and all that stuff was in place. And I was like, man, God, if I leave now, this is definitely a faith walk from you because of all these restrictions in place. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to trust that you will bring me. And so, yeah, I packed up everything and I told God I was ready. And I started just waiting for the date. And one day I was doing prayer on Mondays. I have a Monday night prayer for people who are ever interested in prayer. But during one of those prayer sessions, I had seen a number on a digital clock in the background of WhatsApp, and it said 9:28. And I'm like, why did I never see this before? And I said, you know what, God? If you were asking me to leave, that would have been September 28th, and that was in August. I'm like, if you're asking me to leave at that date, I will go. And so I picked that as my date. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Cola. I am so excited that you are here. If anything I said today resonated, then get in touch with me. I have an amazing mentorship program. It is for those who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, going through grief. It is truly an amazing time. If you want more info, hit my website, lipsandlanguage.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can hit it up on the website or DM me. I have a free gift for you, and I would love to be in contact with you. Whatever you decide, just know that healing, it looks good on you. And I'm so excited that we get to do this journey together. Have a blessed day. And if nobody told you, I will. I love you. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Peace.